Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Asaph Adonai, and welcome to this next edition of Asaph Cafe. We're in our virtual set, and this is part 2 of the show I did a while ago with Linda Brooks Curtis on my left, and now we have Jennifer Sawyer also on my left, and we have our veteran guest and our hostess Patti Reed once again, and our mascot Pee Wee, and you guys can look in that camera and wave there.
Hola.
Now, before we pick up where we left off, I'm going to give a recap of what Linda and I talked about, and then we're going to pick up where we left off. Linda was talking about her showbiz career, how she got started, and the problem with some people is they have to work an 8 and 9 and 10 hour job every day and then try to pursue show business, and that's almost impossible to do.
And it's in between checks.
Yeah. And so then I was explaining how I was able to get past the 9 to 5 when I started my own career, and that led to here's a flyover. I studied with Bubs Blackwell, who was Little Richard's manager for 3 years. Did some concerts in Vegas with Pat Guidry and the High Rollers. Played for the Salvation Army for 12 years, and eventually moved to Montana, and just picking up where I left off. Played at the Northern Hotel, O'Hara's Restaurant, Deaconess Clinic, Yellowstone Art Museum, and other activities in the Billings area for a number of years. And I was married at that time, and I shared, well, you probably know this part, I shared with Linda how while I was married to Jeannie, the marriage was hard on her because her family was not in support of the marriage, and they didn't appreciate the fact that I was a pianist, so those were strikes. And then I talked about how at the day that we divorced, January 29th, 2008, I was in a divorce court that morning and on a Greyhound bus to Missoula that evening, and I picked up my career. And then finally, to recap what we talked about, how I became Asaph. So this is where we're going to start, so that the people watching the cafe can know more about Asaph.
So that was your showbiz name?
Well, I was born Charles Hodges Williams Jr.
Oh, you're the second Charles I know.
And that was my birth name.
Oh.
And I hated that name anyway. And
well, most people are used to writers having pen names, but and screen actors, but not necessarily people in private life.
yeah, but I decided to change it for real. So, like I told you, I went to a court of law when I became Asaph years ago. And as I mentioned, I had my birth certificate amended, and I had to contact Social Security, driver's license, the whole thing.
Why did you pick the name Asaph?
Because the Asaph of the Bible happens to be a musician. He was a musician for King Solomon and King David.
Okay.
He was also a psalm writer. He wrote 12 psalms in the Old Testament. And since I'm a pianist, I thought that'd be a perfect name to change it to.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling Linda I got tired of being mixed up with other people named Charlie Williams. Like when
You
you're,
sound like somebody else I know.
like when you're establishing credit and stuff. I had to always prove it wasn't me. Like the other Charlies that they got me mixed up with, they had cars repoed, houses repoed, and all kinds of stuff. And I always had to prove that they had the wrong
Sounds like a
person.
veteran I know, and he goes through the same thing all the time. His name.
So that's why I went to court of law years ago, and I had to pick a name that would be so different that people would know it's me, and I chose Asaph.
And the last name?
And Adonai, well, I knew Asaph Williams was not going to work. So I grabbed the Strong's Concordance like we talked about in the other show, and I stumbled across the name Adonai, which I didn't know what that meant at the time. And it just said God in Hebrew. I thought, okay, that's harmless. And then I went to the whole court procedure and told you my auntie...
Music player for God.
My auntie was not happy with me changing my name in New York, and I love her dearly. And I went on and changed it anyway. And after I became Asaph Adonai, I picked up my music career, and the rest is history. And now I'm about to do this brand new Lawrence Welk show.
It's
And,
kind of like a lot of people don't know that John Wayne was actually not John Wayne.
Yeah.
He was Marion Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded
Scoot
too
up, Morrison. Get
feminine.
more in the camera there. I'm gonna get you more in the camera there. There you
So
go.
it was too...
You were going to tell the rest of the story.
Yes, I'm going to. The rest of the story.
And the shoe drops.
Yes. But there's a personal reason why I changed my name to Asaph. This is a really intimate personal reason to me. And I think it's worth telling about. In fact, I told you about my autobiography that I wrote. I'm going to send you a copy of it later on today. I came from a family where there was alcoholism. I'm going to play chords as I'm talking. Severe physical and mental abuse to my birth mother at the hands of my father. And I'm not trying to pick on him. I just have to tell it in a loving way so people will know. My father was extremely abusive to my birth mother. And it got to the point where he would beat her up so bad, like when I was in the 6th grade, my mother was wearing shades like a prize fighter while serving us turkey and stuff. And then we had guests over, and they weren't concerned about my mother. They were just trying to trick her to take the glasses off so they can see the damage that my father had done to her. See, this is the kind of family I grew up in.
So then you
And
became
you know,
foster care?
and my last name, I was named after my father because I was junior. And so my earliest memories growing up, when I was around relatives, they were uncomfortable being around me because I was the offspring of this monster that was married to their sister, if that makes any sense. And that's what it was like growing up. And so when I changed my name, I got free of my father in a sense. That's one of the biggest reasons why I went to that name change. I did not want to be named after my father with those memories of what it was like growing up and what he used to do to my mother when I was too small to stop him.
So at some point
Stuff.
during your childhood, did you get placed in foster care?
No, but I had a lot of counseling when I was younger, even though I was a musician. And I have my second mom that you know of. She was instrumental in helping me throughout my lifetime to pull out of the abuse that I was going through. A lot of physical and verbal abuse. And you know, verbal abuse is much more difficult because you can't see it.
Right.
If you have a broken arm, at least you can see that. But when you have that inner abuse, that's hard to heal.
And it's psychological.
Yeah, and I went through years of that, just struggling with that.
To the point you thought
And,
you probably couldn't get above, huh?
That's right. There was a time I didn't think I'd ever get free of it. And my second mom, her name is Lois Stevens, and she was always praying for me all of my life, ever since I was like just a little kid, always praying. And I cried on her shoulder probably a zillion times. And I'll talk about her in detail in a
Were you
moment.
raised in the East Coast?
No, I came from a military family, and then my father settled in Sacramento, California.
Oh, okay.
But you were born in Alaska?
I was born in Fairbanks, Alaska. But see, my grandmother had shown me some pictures when I was an infant baby at the hands of my father, and he was abusing my mom then. And see, the thing is, in those days when a woman got pregnant out of marriage, got pregnant before marriage, they were forced to marry. You know, they didn't have the self-helps at that time that they do today.
Right.
There was no Dr. Phil saving the world at that time. You know, no cape and stuff.
No.
Dr. Phil! Hey! Anyway, and so my birth mother was forced to marry my father before she was ready, and she was already being abused then.
Kind of like Tina Turner.
So by the time I was born, she felt trapped, see? Because she was stuck with this kid. And that's what the relationship was always like with my birth mother. And I don't pull any punches on that. I shoot straight. And so when I saw like my mom's siblings, my aunts and uncles on my mother's side, they always didn't like me around because I always served as a reminder of the offspring of the
Abusive.
abuser, see?
I'm senior.
And so when I got free of my father, to me, when I changed my name legally once and for all and got away from that Williams name, it was a freeing process for me. Here's a good example. Suppose your father was Lee Harvey Oswald. You know, the man that murdered the president.
Yeah.
Just having that last name, that would follow you everywhere you go, even if you didn't have nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. There's a few out
And
there.
so that's what it was like when I changed my name. I was free of my father.
So you know how to play the song Born Free?
Yeah, I do. Why am I doing that? But anyway,
It sounded appropriate.
I know that sounds insensitive, and I'm saying this in the most loving way that I can.
No, it's understandable.
Yeah, and I thought it was worth writing about in my autobiography. And I have a brother that read that book. He got ticked, and I knew he was going to.
There's a little joke that I made, with a lot of parents, because I'm a parent and a grandmother myself. You can either be a mother or a mother. You can either be a father or a father. Most people appreciate a real mother and a real father, opposed to a mother and a father, because those type, they aren't into it. They are into the title, and they don't pay attention to what they're doing, or the outcome.
Yeah.
And it does really, if you have dreams and you're a child that, just like Robin Williams' parents, they thought there was something wrong with their son because they could leave him in a room with all his toys, and they would swear there's other kids he snuck in the window. Actually, he's changing his voice and having lots of personality. They didn't know that he was, severely dyslexic. So
Yeah.
everything had two meanings, and but he was a loner. But when a child has a dream to sing a lot, the last thing they need is someone to say, you cannot be that person.
Well, let's talk about that, because see,
Yeah.
I went through that a lot. And, I'm saying these stories, I'm sharing these stories in love. Like, when I made the decision to go to the conservatory, after I did my student teaching, I was bluntly told I wasn't going to make it, something evil was going to happen. This is a clean family show,
So
so
it
I can't
forced
tell
you-
you what I was really told.
By
but
your parents?
Not
or
just
your
my
father?
parents, not just my parents,
a lot of
but
relatives.
just people I knew growing up with. They all were thinking, they were spewing venom and just saying the most negative stuff that I can't say on this show because this is
Did
a
they
family
realize
show.
it was going to push you to be independent, more determined?
Well, they don't do that because they care about you. Some people attack you. And I was listening to Greg Laurie on the radio just last night. He was talking about that. Whenever you have a plan for your life or a goal, there's going to always be someone who's going to say you aren't going to do it, you can't do this.
Right.
And so Greg Laurie was talking about that just last night. He was talking about when he started his ministry, because he has like a worldwide ministry. He started out small. He was told this isn't going to happen, this isn't going to work, and he does it anyway and it works. And then the next step,
Right.
it's like he was saying if he had a nickel for every time somebody said he wasn't going to do such and such, he'd probably have a lot of nickels. And I can relate to that. I went to the conservatory. I told I wasn't going to make it there. I did. I told I wasn't going to make it when I went to Los Angeles. I played at Loyola for 5 months, met Bumps Blackwell, studied for 3 years, went to Vegas, and so on. And my point is, if I'd listened to that venomous talk, none of it would have happened. And Greg Laurie was saying, it's a universal thing, I guess. And when people say that you're not going to make it, they're not saying it because they don't care about you. It's because they're probably ticked off because they didn't make it.
Jealous.
So they don't want to see anybody else make it. Or it's just human nature.
Or they feel threatened.
Yeah, whatever. and that's a...
If he turns out so great, that means that it exposes how weak I am.
You can't take that personal when
It's the
people are
autobiography.
negative like that. You just have to be like, you have to get a rhinoceros hide, so to speak, and shake that off and...
Well, just like
do it anyway.
that's one of the reasons why we have the U.S. Constitution, because the first 4 amendments, if you don't agree with anybody in your neighborhood treating you wrong, or your law enforcement treating you wrong, you have to, as a U.S. citizen, promote that, hey, I don't have to put up with this. Because when it comes down to it, we're all born without any clothes, and hopefully our parents accept us right there at the hospital.
Yeah, but see,
Well-
like I was saying, sometimes that's not always the case, and I can relate to that. But to sum this up, your question there, everything I've done in my life, I did because I didn't listen to what I was told was going to happen. You just shook it off, or in my case, I shook it off and did it.
Which I tried to do
Yeah, but,
for a long
some people are
time.
sensitive,
I grew up with, I can't tell you how excellent my parents were and how nurturing the atmosphere was in our home. My father recited dramatic readings and read to us and played his guitar and sang for us. My mother taught us to sing and expected to train us to sing professionally. We were always welcome in the community, always wanted to sing for things or to perform for things or to do jobs that we could be paid for, odd jobs. But in the
You were raised
school
in
system,
Montana?
yes, it was a small town in Montana, and there in the school system, the students were always jealous of me and always trying to tear me down, and yet they knew that I could outdo them on anything, from sports to music to academics, whatever. I would always come out on top and I finally, I kept trying to please them and trying to be friends with them and trying to try to not appear so good at what I was doing, and that didn't work, and so I took real refuge in our local church, which was very strong, our local Presbyterian church, and I read the Bible on my own, and there was one psalm in particular that stood out, and that was by young David, Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is a stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And then it goes on to talk about evildoers and naysayers and all those people. And doesn't matter what they have to say, you know what's right and you know what you can do and go for it.
Yeah, but when you have a dream, you're just going to have to follow your heart. And I always tell people, when you're following your dreams, don't go in there with this attitude of, I'll show them I
No,
can
it isn't
make
a matter of showing them. You just do what you know you can do.
You love it. Because I'm going to tell you, like Oprah Winfrey once said, if a person thinks of you a certain way before you make it, when you make it, they're not going to come up to you and say, oh, we were wrong and all that. They're going to still think the same thing. So you got to do it for yourself because you love it. And those are things that I've learned in life. And it's what Greg Laurie was saying on the radio again just last night. You've got, if you follow your dream, or if God has a plan for you, whatever your religious beliefs are, if you got a plan, do it.
Well, that's what I had to do in that isolated little community. I had to say, well, I'm going to do this because I want to do it.
And you miss them.
Yeah. Well, this was a small, very active community, but I didn't care. It got so I did not care what anybody's opinion was, and it goes along with the saying that I've seen recently: don't do something to impress others, do something to impress yourself.
Tequila!
Yeah, that's like me. When I was growing up, my mom, even though she had mental illness, which she wasn't born with, and things happen along the way, and sometimes people have nervous breakdowns and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But she would always be singing all the time. So she got me into it, obviously. And then because of my red curly hair, and my middle name was Ann, they would tease me and call me Peppermint Patti or Fanny. And so I'd be mad after recess and we had music. And I purposely sang louder than everybody, just to irk everybody. But it backfired on me because my teacher goes, oh, you really want to perform? So my teacher would make these plans going, okay, you're going to do a solo, and we're going to, you'll do, the sun will come out tomorrow. You're going to be our Annie. And then, of course, the classroom, it was split 50-50. Some of them were like, cool, and they were like, all right, we can be back up. And then the other ones were like, well, why does she get all the attention? I mean, God, she's just short.
I think it's just human nature how people are when you have a plan or a dream. So that's why I always encourage
took it
people.
Which is why I wanted to sing what I did for love.
Well, go ahead.
Kiss today goodbye, the sweetness and the sorrow. We did what we had to do, and I can't forget what I did for love, what I did for love. God as we travel on.
Okay.
Love's what we'll remember.
Okay, I'm just picking following you.
Kiss today goodbye and point me to tomorrow. Wish me luck the same to you.
There you go.
Can't forget, won't regret what I did for love. But that's not quite the end of the song.
Well, I don't really know that song, but I was just following you, just trying to
Well,
get some
it
chorus.
gives the idea that the people in chorus line, that's the main story of that musical,
Yeah.
is that these are people who had to really sacrifice to have a stage career. They were dancers and singers, but they had to really sacrifice and discipline themselves and be ambitious.
Yeah.
And once they can't do that anymore, they have to move on and realize that they did it for that love of performing and the connection with those audiences,
Well, I mean,
which you have felt.
Yeah,
and you
I've
have
been
felt.
there, done that. Now, I'm not famous, but like we talked about, just because you're not known doesn't mean you're not a working musician
I
and
actually
so on.
got a standing ovation a few years back when I was in Great Falls living there. And it was at a place called The Other Place. Everybody called it the OP. And it was after Whitney Houston actually had remade I'll Always Love You. My voice was in really good tune, and I went out with this guy. It was our first date. And I hit that high note when she was carrying out the word love, you. And the whole table stood up. And then they chased me down for, for autographs. And I'm like, okay, I'll sign it, And then they were trying to a couple of women were trying to talk me into going to the fair in Great Falls and enter their country contest. I said, I don't know country that well. And they go, just sing this. That'll be good enough. And I never made it. I was like, well, this is enough right now. I had like 20 people stand up for me, and that was just awesome. And they did it in unison. Woo! She hit that note!
So are you going to sing I Will Always Love You?
Well, I was kind of
I
picking at
could.
it a little bit just now.
If you want me to, I could. Always love you. I will always love you.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to really go. I've never actually done that, so I'm just picking some chords out.
Well, the first part is a cappella, so she goes, if I should stay, I would only be in your way. So goodbye, please don't cry. We both know I'm not what
I'm not sure. Okay,
you
go on.
need. And I will always love you. I will always love you. My darling, you.
Something like that. I don't know, but bravo.
Well, speaking of that, I'm sure you're familiar at rock concerts and things. A sign of tribute to the performers is where people hold their lighters up.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And
That has happened.
I was doing karaoke several times, actually, karaoke, and when I did Celine Dion's "Because You Loved Me,"
Oh, that's a good song. Very good.
they would hold their lighters up.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
that to me, that was like a standing ovation.
You just made me think of
Absolutely.
something when we were
Yeah.
talking about pursuing goals that you never got to do. Maybe I can put you to use when we do that new Lawrence Welk show coming up later on this year. You just made me think of
Well,
that.
you know what I was thinking also, because part of your motivation for doing it was to give back to the community.
Yeah, I do.
And to give people a chance to show what they can do. And of
Well, I've
course,
got
that
plans
was the
for Patti.
concept
Yeah,
of the
I've
show.
got plans
I'd like
for
to say a
Patti,
little
too.
note. Celine Dion, we I watched the news last night about how your husband has cancer, and we're really pulling for him, and we feel for you. You're a beautiful singer, and please don't give up. Focus out there. You're great. I had to say that.
Well, anyway, concluding a story that I neglected about changing the name. You know, when we were talking about Lee Harvey Oswald, you get free of that when you change your name. And that doesn't mean you don't love your parent when you do that. But sometimes parents can do certain things, and it falls on their children, if you know what I'm talking about. And so that's the real reason why I changed my name.
And
I mean, there were other reasons, like, you know, the credit mix-up, but that was one of the major reasons I did
I thought it
change
was
my
because
name.
your agent was going to tell you.
No. It was
Of course you don't have an
it was a
agent.
freeing of my past and freeing from my father because of the way he treated my mother so bad.
Well, I probably should have, instead of hyphenating my name, taken off the Curtis part, because my husband, he knew who I was when we were married. And the last few years of our marriage were his trying to undermine my career.
Yeah, I've
And
heard stories of
undermine my
people that-
ever
that-
having any success. And it really hurt me badly. It was very distressing, and at the same time, I had to spend most of my time working at day jobs again because he wasn't pulling his weight
I know, right?
financially. And so, but when I left, I was very much of the mind that I should not badmouth him to my son. And so when he had his influence on my son, the little bit of contact he had with him, and when people in Las Vegas wanted him to play Oliver in Oliver the Musical because he was absolutely perfect, he wouldn't do it because his father had so influenced him against opera and musical theater because
Isn't that sad?
he didn't understand it. He didn't and a young man, and a fellow actor said to him, "Don't you understand how talented your wife is?"
You
And
know
my
that- what
husband
you're
just
talking-
looked at him and walked on.
What you're talking about is a
How bad does
saying-
that
That
hurt?
was discouraging.
That what you just said was a scene in the movie The Shine about the concert pianist David Helfgott. There was a scene where his father just was not in support of young Helfgott wanting to go to that music school to be a pianist. That's interesting you'd say that.
Well, that's what happened. I
know, I
went
experienced
through
that
that, and
too.
I
I went through
identified
that
that
too.
when I saw the movie.
When I get mad at my dad, I won't go by Reed. I go by my mom's maiden name, which is Bennett. So, and my grandpa's name, which I'm my mom's dad, was Robert Louis Bennett, and her name was Roberta Louise Bennett. So, she was a Bennett, so I had to be it too. So I decided to be Bennett. Every time John Reed pipes off saying the wrong thing, I'm like, okay, I'm a Bennett. I'm no longer a Reed, so you go read that.
So, I can relate to all that. And, this
Well,
might
it
be a way
hurts.
to...
And
I know
when,
it hurts.
when somebody you love and you've sacrificed for, and you have showered gifts on and everything,
Yeah.
just doesn't understand.
But
doesn't understand why people love what you do and understand it, and you motivate them. And I have had experiences of, for example, many years later when I was working part-time at CVS after having taught high school and college, there was a young man before me, and here I was standing there trying to do the I was doing the cashier work, and we had people lined up, and this young man, he was about 6'9" old with a beard. He looked about 40 or maybe 50. He said, "You're Mrs. Curtis. You're Linda Curtis. You were my 9th grade English teacher, and you were a major mentor of my life. Because of you, I felt like I could do anything, and I have." He owns his own martial arts studio. He has a really nice family. He's accomplished his goals in life because he says, I influenced him to realize that he could do anything that he set
That's
his
a good
mind
teacher.
to.
And see, that's the thing. And if you don't have the
So-
support, if you don't have that support, either surround yourself with people that are supportive, or just get away from them, and just you don't have to be like all hate and ticked off. You just have to get away from that
I think
negative
it's
stuff.
I think it's really
and do
cool.
it.
I think it's Channel 13. They give the teacher award. I think that's really cool for the most outstanding teacher.
because-
We need good teachers. We really
yeah.
do.
You just keep putting that effort in every day, no matter how much it's rejected or you don't see results, because there may be results later, and you can still be positive in someone's
And
life.
some people might be having a bad day that you're trying to get your message out to. That's one of the things about singing. If you're in a room full of people that are depressed and not happy, if you pick the right song, you got everybody. I mean, I noticed that when I do karaoke. It's kind of funny. When I would go to Harold's Club, there'd be a really bad singer. People get up there and they go, okay, well, this person doesn't sing. So they all go out and have a cigarette break. But then when Tom, the DJ, would call and say, hey, Patti, here's Patti. I'm like helping America quit smoking. It's really cool. They put out their cigarettes, they hurry in to listen to me just for that few minutes to get all happy again and want to go dance and do everything. So that's the energy that they gave me from applause and being glad that I can make them smile is the reason why I go do it again and again and again. And hopefully, somehow, I'll get, famous, but I'm famous right now in karaoke.
Anyway, when I was teaching, particularly during that time period, I always had a poster on the wall. It was a picture of a waterfall in Maui. And it was really
cool.
beautiful and green. And the inscription on the poster was, give to the world the best you have, and the world will give back to you.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I meant it
It's the
sincerely, and you don't know when it is working for you.
Right.
You think, boy, I can't take being treated like this anymore.
That's your yang moment.
or not being recognized, or not getting chances, but you are going to get what you put out. And if you give up and put out something negative,
And you won't be
then-
ready. You will not be ready when that moment comes, but just breathe it in. Be going.
Now let's have some fun. We still have a little time left. Time has been breezing by.
Can we play some online mahjong?
Well, I'm just gonna play a song. I'm gonna play a song. I'm not gonna tell you three ladies what it is, and tell me if you've ever heard it.
Name that tune.
Yes.
Figure 8, Schoolhouse
You got
Rock.
yeah.
I've heard that.
I was a big fan of Schoolhouse Rock. It's a simple that goes round and round and round.
Missed a note in there somewhere. Yeah, I used to watch this Schoolhouse Rock when I was growing up.
That was my second schooling.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what you learn on there. And that song, Figure 8, the lady, her name was Blossom Dearie. She was a jazz singer, jazz pianist, but she sounded like a little girl.
Yeah.
And that's why
The
it worked.
ice skater on the skating.
Yeah, that's why it
rink.
worked. Can you imagine? You see the little girl in the Schoolhouse Rock, the figure skating, Figure 8. That's my
And she
personal
falls
favorite
in.
Schoolhouse Rock. And so anyway, that was Blossom Dearie. And so when you see her in concert, or like on the YouTube these days, and she sounds like that little girl doing her Nat King Cole or whatever she's doing, it worked. And she was a jazz pianist, a very good jazz pianist too. So I don't know if anybody will remember Schoolhouse Rock, but that was pretty
You can actually
cool.
buy it now. You can actually buy it.
Well, I have the entire collection at home on VHS.
Yeah,
I
they're
have the
cool.
entire. I have the math, the history, and every once in a while I'll pop them in. I have the science ones. I have the Constitution
Oh,
one.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's all about the Constitution and our government. You know, however they did. I'm not a singer.
Conjunction,
but,
junction, what's
Yeah.
your function? Working out rules.
I remember that one from when I was teaching, but the Schoolhouse Rock was well after my time. But when I substitute taught for elementary students in the summer, they used to call me Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus.
Okay.
They said, "We have Miss Frizzle today." And I go, "Well, I have frizzy hair, but you know."
Well, that's too bad they don't have that Schoolhouse Rock on much these days anymore, but those were so cool. You know, when that first came out, it beat Sesame Street in the Children's Awards category.
Well, yeah, it was more educational. It was music that we could relate to.
I'll have to
Yeah.
find it on YouTube or something.
It's
Well,
awesome.
or just come over. I've got the entire collection. I have the entire Schoolhouse Rock collection.
You can burn it on CD for us.
From VHS?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I
You
wasn't
put it on
aware of
DVD.
that. All right, you'll probably have to show me how to do that, but I have the entire collection. All in chronological order, you know, like all the math from 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I have the science ones, the history ones,
They covered everything.
yeah, I have the entire collection.
Pretty cool.
And I'm very humbled to have that collection too.
You're very rare.
Yeah, VHS. I have the whole collection of VHS.
Now for
Schoolhouse Rock.
$39.95.
Yeah. Your mind grows strong.
I have some absolutely priceless VHS tapes also.
So do I, and I broke the ends off to make sure I don't accidentally erase those Schoolhouse Rocks from my VHS collection.
Ellen
Good for
DeGeneres
you.
decided when they said that they were going to obsolete all VHS, she had her stagehand take all her VHS tapes, glue them together, and put plate glass on the top and turn it into an end coffee table.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I can do that if you want a copy of the Schoolhouse, but the figure eight's my personal favorite, so I just like that melody. It's such a beautiful melody to me. Figure eight is double 4.
Are we going to continue with Name That Tune, or is the clock on the wall telling us we have to leave?
Well, we have to leave soon. We can do a couple of Name That tunes. Let's see if I can think of something here. And Jennifer, we hope you didn't leave you out. Yeah, well, good.
She
And
actually
Pee-wee's
smiled,
there.
gentlemen and
You can see
ladies.
Pee-wee on camera a little bit there. All right, let me see. I want to think of something that... okay, here's one. Let's see if you get this one.
On Calvary's tree,
You're getting close.
for sin to set me free.
Mm-hmm.
One day he's coming back. What glory that will be. Wonderful his love for me.
You're close. You at least got the words.
Well, I didn't get the
Stumped
first
me, I don't
part.
know.
That is called For God So Loved the
That's
World.
it, for
That's
God's
the name
world.
of
I
it.
mean, I knew,
Oh,
I knew
wouldn't
it.
guess
I went to a Leighton Ford crusade years ago, and they sang that song, and that's how I learned it. I believe Leighton Ford had some kind of relation with the evangelist Billy Graham, and so he was doing his versions of the crusades, and I happened to go to one of those crusades, and they were singing it. They had this choir, and they were singing that, and it was such a beautiful song to me. Have you ever heard this song?
I've heard it.
I've heard of it. I don't know.
To die
I don't
on
know a lot of
Calvary's tree,
spiritual hymns.
from sin
Well,
to
this isn't
set
really
me
a hymn.
free. Someday he's coming back. What glory that will
It's a
be.
beautiful song, though.
Wonderful his love for me. Very good for this time right before Easter.
Yeah, and let's do an Easter song real quick before we conclude.
And I'm going to let somebody celebrate Easter for me because I'm not cooking. I'm going to let
All right,
somebody.
let me play
Well, I'm
this
wearing
little...
my Easter blouse.
You may recognize this song. This is a song that they
I'm
play
stretching
in
out
the
green.
Easter holiday every year.
I'll stretch out right to the end of the
Da, 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 da. Ah. Why can't I think of the name of it? I know it.
I've heard of it.
It's
I don't know.
definitely an Easter
Yeah,
song.
that
What
is called
it?
Hear the Bells Ringing.
Oh.
Hear the bells ringing, they're singing that Christ is being born.
Here comes
Some
Peter
guy's
Cotton.
Christ is coming in or something like that.
Da, da, da.
How about Here Comes Peter Cottontail?
Well, that's not really an Easter song, but anyway, it's about
That's
that
Peter
time
Cottontail,
of
it's
year.
Easter.
Well, I guess it's a different type of Easter.
Kids' Easter song.
It's probably not the Easter we're familiar with Christ dying on the cross and rising
no,
again.
it's
but
totally different.
Yeah.
It's a child's song.
I know. I realize
He
that.
missed that part in his childhood, people.
But yeah, it's that time of year.
We'll have to bring him a rabbit.
Since we're talking about Easter real quick, did you see the movie The Passion of the Christ?
Yes, I did.
Boy, that was a tough movie, wasn't it?
Yes.
Poor Mel Gibson. Oh my
It took
God.
everything in me to keep from crying. I was squirming in my seat watching that. But it was one of the most believable Easter film, or I should say,
I
Bible
feel bad
films.
for Mel Gibson. I
And what
really
was
do,
his
because
motivation? His motivation
Well, I saw in an
in
interview.
producing and directing that film was to have people experience
Yeah, the
the
crucifixion of
passion
Christ.
and the crucifixion. It
Yeah,
wasn't
he should
just
have been
to,
scrutinized.
it
Well, you
shouldn't
know,
have been just for him to make a lot of money,
No, it wasn't.
etc.
He had been tormented for years about putting that movie together. You know, when he was first writing the script and the outline, he went through 10 little years of inner torment before deciding to put
Well,
that
yeah,
movie
for
together
one,
because
he's
it was
not-
in
he's
him.
an Australian that's from America. And
Well, he
was
knew he
not
had to
from
tell
there.
the story, and also in another interview I saw with him, you know the scene when we're nailing Jesus to the cross? That was Mel Gibson's hands in that scene. He said he had to do that for his own sake, the sake of that movie. That's how he was touched.
Well, you know,
by
despite
that.
all that he went through and some rather negative experiences he had, after that he brought a lot to people. And I think
Yeah.
he felt the same sort of impelling pressure when he put together Braveheart.
Yeah.
And, you know,
yeah.
we might not have had a United States of America if it hadn't been for William Wallace.
Well, you know, I think Mel Gibson was probably at the right place at the right time in his life because think of that, you know.
But it was
a
that
young-
same resolute courage and standing up for what you
I'm proud
believe,
of
no
Mel
matter
Gibson.
what
I think
else
it was
anybody
good that
else
he did
does.
rock the boat.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that he
left
brought
some-
the truth out there because it's not about Hollywood and it's not about, you know, millions of dollars. It's about how people treat their own nationality. That's what it really came down to. Because, I mean, when they chose a murderer to live and a man that had magical qualities and just promoted innocence, that was just bad.
But the thing was, it was because they were jealous and felt threatened
In politics.
and knew that this might be a force they would not be able to continue their unscrupulous ways with.
Or reckon with, yeah.
Oh,
I'm listening to you.
Da-da, Music Man.
Yes, that's the Music
Da-da-da.
Man. Yeah, that.
Copper bottom,
Good night.
76 trombones.
Well, not that one. That was.
You were just playing 76 trombones.
That was the love song.
Good
that,
night, my someone.
Yeah,
My someone, good night, my love.
yeah. Good night, my love, or whatever it is. Yeah, it is from the Music Man. Yeah.
And that's,
You know, Shirley Jones was an interesting singer to me.
and
As a
I
young
met her
woman.
up in Big Bear. She lives in Big Bear.
Yeah, and you
Oh,
know,
really?
I don't want to pick on the Partridge Family because I used to watch
Dana
that show.
Carvey's parents live in Beaver Creek.
But I think she was. I think it was not her at her very best because
In Partridge
she was,
Family?
Yeah, because she was playing the rock and roll mom, and I'm not picking on the Partridge Family or David Cassidy or whatever, but
It wasn't her scene.
it was not. No.
And the
she
thing
did play a
is,
good mom role.
something she revealed in her biography is that things were never perfect for her. Her first husband, as much as they seemed an ideal show business couple, he was a womanizer and was always picking up people and having affairs with whoever.
Yeah, but you know, I try to get away from that aspect of a person's life
Well,
because
yeah, but
that
the
is
point
between
is-
them and their creator.
But the
is way I
point
see
is,
it.
she went on with her career regardless, and her second marital situation wasn't totally ideal either, and she still had those children to raise. So
they're
she had to
handsome.
take
David is-
she had to take on the career opportunities that were presented to
I'll
her.
tell you what, I wanted to get to know the Partridge Family, especially David Cassidy. I wanted to get to know
Oh,
him.
he was-
so
Oh yeah, I would love to see
He's
David Cassidy in
fine,
concert.
Dave
I would, you know.
Buddy.
Yeah, I don't think anybody watched the Partridge Family as much as I did growing up. I watched that show every single day, 5 days a week when it was on
I
television.
love the music and how they
Well,
set
I
everything
just have to say
Hey,
that
let's play a Partridge Family tune.
Shirley Jones is still a remarkable woman.
up. Oh, she is. She does little spotlights in different things like the 70s show and stuff. And it's really cute. She still does her comedy, has a sense of humor.
And the
But
thing
she-
is, it all started out, she was set on going to college and someone just called her over to do an audition. She just sang for these important people and she didn't know who they were. She sang an audition. She didn't know how important they were, that is.
Right.
And they put her in these shows.
Well,
Yeah.
that, that's like
Broadway.
the reason why AC/DC wrote the song. It's a long way to talk if you want to rock and roll. Because nobody on this earth in any field is not going to have a perfect life. You're not allowed to have that. You're a human. You're going to go through hard times. And then it's yin and yang days. Some days are going to be bad.
Yeah.
You just don't know when. But if you have a really good day, anticipate the next day a little cloudy. Maybe not extreme, but it just depends.
Well, I think that
Is that
Shirley Jones-
Liberace?
Deal with.
Da
not
da
really. I could
da
probably
da da da.
I think she was at her very best in the movie Oklahoma.
Oh yes.
Did you see that
Of
when she was
course.
singing that one song in front of all those girls when she just broke up with that boyfriend? I don't know the name of the song, but it's a cute melody. But I think she was at her just primo prime when she was singing that song. In
Well,
that
she was in her
film.
youth.
And good
Well,
night.
I realize
Good
that.
night, my
yeah.
someone.
No, I mean she was younger when she did
Early
that.
20s is great.
Yeah, I mean she was in just
And then-
top
then-
form.
I'm Good Night, My Someone is from Music Man.
Yeah.
But that dance sequence in Music Man was just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, she's very
Not
good,
just
very
for
Broadway is
Robert
one of her best things.
Preston, but for her.
good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, don't throw bouquets at me, and then that poor Judd is dead thing.
That was kind of comical.
Here's a song for you. Let's see if you know this one.
Is that the chicken song?
Close.
I know it. Don't know the name.
You have heard this song?
Yeah, I know the song. I can't think of the words right
It's
now.
called Bill Grogan's Goat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's really gonna know that, but that's one of my piano songs in my yellow piano books, and it goes something
Well,
like
it's
this.
interesting that you remember it. They must have patterned the chicken song after it.
that little toy that you talking about, the little toy.
The chicken song.
Yeah, they have a little toy that when you squeeze it, it plays this and it flaps its wings and it dances around.
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, they have a lot of cute little songs. Like they have this other song in the piano book about the chicken. It's the theme to the Carnival of Venice, but they have a different title there. When you have chicken dinner. I haven't done those songs in a
Well,
while.
Carnival of Venice involves ducks and swans and things.
Yeah, well, this poor chicken got eaten in the piano book. You know, we have chicken dinner. La 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 la.
Well, do you do Swan Lake?
I do my version of it.
All right, let's hear your version of Swan Lake.
Okay, hold on. Let me do it again.
Pee-wee. You like that dance? That's Swan Lake. This ballet dancer is going to come down and do pirouettes. Yeah. She's a dying swan.
She's a sleepy dog. Are we gonna dance?
Well, now,
Is that your dancing career? Are you done with the dancing career? For the moment, Mom.
Oh, something like that. Forgot how it goes, but
Well, now, what kind of guests are you looking for the Lawrence
for the new
Welk
Lawrence
thing?
Welk
What
show.
kind of people
Well, I
are
might
you
have like
looking for?
announcers and people just in the background on the scenes, and we're gonna have the dancers, and we're gonna have a studio audience and the whole thing when we do this Lawrence Welk show. So as soon as I can't think of the answer right today,
And
but in the
individual members
future-
who are parts of a company that will perform on
Well, we'll have
an
performers
ongoing
on the show, but I mean,
basis?
like some of my friends, I may have them do some stuff in the background,
Oh,
little
sure.
announcings, and just cute little things like that, instead of actually performing, unless they know how to perform, like in your case, for example. So, as it gets closer to that time, I'll have more of the details, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I like the people you were able to choose for your pilot because
Well, Maya Wynn, she is a very known actress for her age and singer, very accomplished singer. She's only 17 years old.
is she the one with the butterflies?
Yeah, with the butterfly wings. So, and Maya, I told her when she was with her family and so on, when we were doing the pilot, when I see her, I see myself. That's why I'm taken with this young woman as far as her career. I have an invested interest in this young lady as far as
Get a grip.
her career and where she's going to go.
She
Because
is.
I went through the same thing she's going through now when I was about her age, and that's why I have this interest. I want to see where her career is going to take her, where life will take her. And so I was really humbled when she was part of that pilot.
And she is really, really beautiful. Besides the
yeah.
musical ability.
Yeah.
You know?
You're like 17, you're like getting cute there, and so it works. Plus she's got that voice too, so she's going to do just fine. I think she's going to have a wonderful career. So Maya, if you're watching, blessings to you, young lady. I think she's going to go very far.
And Louise with her ballet dancing.
Yeah. Louise Bundy,
You
yeah,
know?
she did me a really big favor doing that. And I think what I'll do is I'll play that song and we'll conclude this. So
She's best known for the undercover dancer as a cashier over at Safeway, which is no longer
But you
Safeway
know,
now.
some of those other groups, I was reminded that I did not like country western music when I was a child, and now I really appreciate it, and I, look back to all different kinds of groups: jazz, country western, pop, even scat singing, all kinds of things.
Right.
All have their place and are all appealing
I'm
and
at
bring
home with rock and roll.
messages and experiences to people. Well, sure, we all like that old rock and roll, but when I was growing up, a big influence was folk music. Peter, Paul, and Mary, and things like
Yeah,
that.
that's squeezed in because that was my music teacher's favorite type of music.
So,
So we would sing, if I had a hammer, we'd sing that in choir.
who made that song famous? Do you remember?
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
I mean, before them,
It was a male group.
I think it was a singer named Lopez. Something.
It was a male group. I remember that much, but that I know Peter, Paul, and Mary did a lot of the folk art.
well,
Well, a lot of
the young and the
people-
restless.
The Reckless.
The young and the restless
The Reckless, yeah.
is that theme, and
Yeah, it's called Nadia's Theme is his real name, as you
the
know.
Nadia's theme, and she
Yeah.
was a performer of perfection.
Yeah.
And people who just act on camera
Mm-hmm.
also have their own type of perfection. But I don't suppose you are going to be exhibiting that in your.
Well, I'm going to be
show.
probably more hosting when we do this new Lawrence Welk show.
No,
than
that's what I
performing.
mean.
Yeah.
The hosting, the kind of people who.
Yeah, I'm going to
actually do
introduce a lot of
performing.
acts and so on. So when that time comes, and I'll find a spot. I've got something for Patti to do and Luis to do and some other people. Do this show. So we'll see.
And Jennifer
But
will be our nurse on the set.
We'll think of something. I mean, I have to still put the scripts together, and I'm still working on the funding issues and stuff, but it'll happen.
Okay.
And boy, a whole hour is just about gone by. So let me make some final acknowledgments. Start with Linda Brooks Curtis once again on my left, and Jennifer Sawyer, and our veteran guest, our hostess, Patti Reed. And I think we covered some pretty good ground on conversations
And
today.
tonight I will be at Westside Lanes at 8:30.
Yeah, and then
p.m.
finally
It's at
our
9.
mascot.
Hold your lighters up. Did you say Tech
It'll be
9?
off of Wyoming and Russell Street, over by
Uh-huh.
Red's Towing and that part of the neck of the woods.
And on that note, I will say until our next show, once again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my guest, Marantha.
We love you.
Hang in there. We're all in this together, believe me.